Your mind is either your greatest servant or your cruelest master. Right now, at this very moment, which is it serving as in your life, most people live their entire existence never asking this question. They drift through decades, allowing their thoughts to run wild, like leaving a garden untended, and then wondering why weeds have overtaken every corner of their mental landscape. They blame their circumstances, their upbringing, their luck, their timing, everything except the one thing they actually have dominion over, the sovereign territory of their own consciousness. But here's the truth that separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who remain trapped in cycles of mediocrity. Your thoughts are not random visitors in your mind. They are tenants you have personally invited to stay. Every negative thought pattern, every self-defeating belief, every limiting assumption about what's possible for your life, you have given these mental parasites a key to your consciousness and allowed them to make themselves at home. The moment you truly understand this principle, everything changes. Not gradually, not eventually, immediately. I want you to think about something right now. Can you remember a specific moment in your life when you made a decision that completely altered your trajectory? Not a decision about what to eat for breakfast or which route to take to work, but a fundamental choice about who you were going to be and how you were going to show up in the world. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this principle in action. There was once a man who worked in a factory for 23 years. Every morning, he would drag himself out of bed, drive to work through the same gray streets, clock in, perform the same repetitive tasks, and clock out. Day after day, year after year. His thoughts during these decades were a constant stream of complaints, resentments, and fears. I hate this job. I'll never amount to anything. Life is unfair. I'm too old to change. I don't have the education. I don't have the connections. These thoughts became his reality. They shaped his posture, his energy, his relationships, and his results. He lived in a mental prison of his own construction, and he had convinced himself that the bars were made of circumstances beyond his control. Then one Tuesday morning, something happened. He was standing at his workstation, and suddenly he heard his own, as if for the first time, repeating the same negative mantra he had been chanting for over 2 decades. In that moment, he realized something profound. He was not thinking his thoughts were thinking him. This realization hit him like a lightning bolt. He understood that he had been living as a slave to mental patterns that he had unconsciously accepted as truth. But if he had the power to accept these thoughts, didn't he also have the power to reject them? If he could choose to believe limitations, couldn't he also choose to believe possibilities? That very day, he made a decision. He decided to take complete responsibility for the quality of his mental life. He began to consciously choose his thoughts the way a gardener chooses which seeds to plant. Every morning before his feet hit the floor, he would spend 10 minutes consciously directing his mind toward thoughts of possibility, growth, and opportunity. Every evening, he would review his day and consciously choose to focus on what he had learned, what he had accomplished, and what he was grateful for. The results were nothing short of miraculous. Within 6 months, he had been promoted twice. Within a year, he had started a side business that generated more income than his full-time job. Within 2 years, he had left the factory entirely and was earning more than he had ever imagined possible. But the most significant change wasn't in his bank account. It was in his entire experience of being alive. What changed? His circumstances, his luck, his connections. No, what changed was his relationship with his own mind. He stopped being a victim of his thoughts and became the master of them. Now I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. How much of your mental energy do you spend each day on thoughts that serve your highest good? How much time do you invest in consciously choosing empowering beliefs about yourself and your possibility? And how much time do you waste entertaining thoughts that make you feel small, limited, defeated, or helpless? Most people spend more time choosing what to watch on television than they spend choosing what to think about. They exercise more conscious control over their entertainment than they do over their mental and emotional states. They research products before buying them, but they never research the thoughts they're buying into day after day. This is the great irony of human existence. We have been given dominion over the most powerful force in the universe, consciousness itself, and most of us use it to create experiences we don't want. The ancient wisdom traditions understood this principle intimately. They knew that the mind, when properly directed, could move mountains. They understood that thoughts are not merely fleeting mental events, but actual forces that shape reality according to their nature and intensity. They recognized that the person who masters their inner world becomes master of their outer world as well. But they also understood something else. This power comes with absolute responsibility. You cannot simultaneously claim that you want to change your life and refuse to take responsibility for your mental habits. You cannot demand better results while maintaining the same thought patterns that created your current result. You cannot pray for miracles while thinking thoughts that are fundamentally opposed to the miracle you're seeking. The universe operates according to precise laws. One of these laws is that your external experience will always mirror your internal state. If your mind is filled with thoughts of lack, struggle, and limitation, your life will reflect these beliefs with mathematical precision. If your mind is filled with thoughts of abundance, possibility, and growth, your life will demonstrate these truths just as consistent. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful thinking. This is the recognition of a fundamental law of existence. Consciousness creates reality. But here's what most people miss. This law is always working. Whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, your thoughts are continuously creating your experience. The question is not whether this law is true. The question is whether you're going to use it deliberately or let it use you randomly. Right now you have a choice to make. You can continue living as a victim of your unconscious mental patterns, or you can step into the role of conscious creator of your inner and outer experience. You can keep allowing your thoughts to think you, or you can begin thinking your thoughts. This choice is not complicated, but it is profound. It requires you to acknowledge that you have been the primary architect of your current mental and emotional experience. It requires you to stop looking outside yourself for someone or something to blame for your internal state. It requires you to recognize that the power to transform your life has been in your hands all along. But here's the beautiful truth. The moment you accept complete responsibility for your mental life, you become completely free to change it. When you stop making excuses for your thought patterns, you start making progress. When you stop blaming your past for your present mental state, you start creating a different future. When you stop waiting for circumstances to change before you change your thinking, you discover that changing your thinking changes your circumstances. This is the great awakening, the moment when you realize that you are not at the mercy of your thoughts are at the mercy of you. You are not a victim of your mental habits, you are the authority over them. You are not condemned to repeat the same patterns forever. You have the power to create new patterns starting right now. The question is, are you ready to exercise this power? Are you ready to stop living as a mental victim and start living as a conscious creator? Are you ready to take complete responsibility for the quality of your inner experience? Because once you make this choice, really make it, not just think about making it, everything in your life begins to shift. Not because the world changes, but because you change. Not because circumstances improve, but because your relationship with circumstances transforms. Not because luck finds you, but because you create the mental conditions that attract what you desire. The power has always been yours. The choice has always been yours. The responsibility has always been yours. The only question is, what are you going to do with it? Your transformation begins not with changing your circumstances, but with changing your relationship to your own mind. It begins not with finding the right opportunities, but with creating the right mental condition. It begins not with waiting for inspiration, but with choosing to direct your thoughts consciously, consistently, and with complete commitment to your highest good. The moment of choice is now. The power is in your hands. The responsibility is yours alone. What will you choose? Now that you understand your power over your mental realm, you must understand how to wield this power according to natural law. Success, you see, is not something you acquire from the outside world. It is something you cultivate from within and then express outwardly. Think of a farmer for a moment. Does the farmer create the laws of growth? Does he invent the principles of germination, cultivation, and harvest? Of course not. The farmer succeeds by aligning his actions with laws that already exist. He understands that certain seeds, planted in certain soil, watered with certain consistency, and tended with certain care, will produce certain results. He doesn't argue with these laws. He doesn't try to negotiate with them. He simply works with them, and they work for him. Your mind operates according to the same immutable principles. There are laws governing the cultivation of thoughts, the germination of ideas, and the harvest of results. These laws are not arbitrary. They are not cruel. They are not unfair. They are simply the way consciousness operates, and once you understand them, you can use them to transform your entire life experience. The first law of mental cultivation is this: whatever you consistently plant in your mind will inevitably grow and multiply according to its own nature. If you plant thoughts of abundance, you will harvest experiences of abundance. If you plant thoughts of scarcity, you will harvest experiences of scarcity. If you plant thoughts of possibility, you will harvest experiences of opportunity. If you plant thoughts of limitation, you will harvest experiences of restriction. This is not philosophy. This is agricultural science applied to consciousness. But here's what most people don't understand. The quality of your harvest is determined not by the seeds you plant occasionally, but by the seeds you plant consistently. A farmer doesn't plant corn one day, weeds the next day, then corn again, then weeds again, and expect a corn harvest. Yet this is exactly how most people approach their mental cultivation. They plant one positive thought, then immediately plant 10 negative thoughts. They affirm their possibilities in the morning, then doubt them all afternoon. They visualize success for 5 minutes, then worry about failure for 5 hours. This inconsistent planting produces inconsistent results. It creates a mental garden that is part flower and part weed, part abundance and part scarcity, part possibility and part limitation. The mind, like soil, doesn't discriminate between the seeds you plant consciously and the seeds you plant unconsciously. It simply grows whatever you give it the most of. Consider the profound implications of this principle. Every thought you think is a seed. Every emotion you feel is water for that seed. Every action you take is cultivation of that seed. Every result you experience is harvest from seeds you planted previous. This means that your current life is not the result of random circumstances. It is the harvest of your previous mental cultivation. If you want to change your harvest, you must change your planting. If you want to change your results, you must change your mental. If you want to change your external experience, you must change your internal cultivation practices. But transformation through natural law requires more than understanding. It requires consistent application over time. Just as a farmer doesn't expect to plant seeds on Monday and harvest crops on Tuesday, you cannot expect to change lifelong mental patterns instantly. Mental transformation follows the same seasonal cycles as physical growth. There is a season for planting when you consciously choose new thoughts and beliefs. There is a season for cultivation when you consistently water these new mental seeds with attention, emotion, and action. There is a season for growth when these new patterns begin to take root and show early signs of manifestation. And there is a season for harvest when your transformed consciousness produces transformed results. Most people give up during the cultivation season. They plant new thoughts for a few days or weeks, but when they don't see immediate results, they abandon their mental garden and return to their old pattern. They don't understand that the most important growth happens underground, in the invisible realm of consciousness, before it becomes visible in the realm of experience. This is why consistency is more powerful than intensity. A small amount of daily mental cultivation produces more dramatic results than sporadic bursts of positive thinking. 5 minutes of conscious thought direction every morning for a year will transform your life more completely than 5 hours of intensive visualization once a month. Let me give you a specific example of how this works. Imagine a person who has struggled with self-doubt for years. Their mental garden is overgrown with thoughts like I'm not good enough, I always fail, I don't deserve success, and nothing ever works out for me. These thoughts have been planted and watered so consistently that they have become the dominant crop in their consciousness. Now suppose this person decides to plant new seeds. Every morning, they spend 10 minutes consciously planting thoughts like I am constantly growing in wisdom and capability. I learn from every experience and become stronger. I deserve all the good that life has to offer, and opportunities are always available to me. At first, these new thoughts feel foreign, even false. The old weeds of self-doubt are still stronger and more established. But if this person continues their daily planting, something remarkable begins to happen. The new thoughts start to take root. They begin to crowd out the old pattern. They start to influence emotions, decisions, and actions. Eventually, they become the dominant mental crop, and the harvest of experiences begins to reflect this transformation. This is not magic. This is the natural law of mental cultivation applied with scientific precision. But there's another principle at work here that you must understand: the law of compound growth. Just as money invested consistently grows exponentially over time, thoughts invested consistently multiply exponentially in their power and influence. Consider the difference between someone who practices negative thinking and someone who practices positive thinking over the course of a year. The negative thinker starts with one self-defeating thought, which generates negative emotions, which lead to self-defeating actions, which produce disappointing results, which generate more negative thoughts. This creates a descending spiral that accelerates over time. The positive thinker starts with one empowering thought, which generates positive emotions, which lead to constructive actions, which produce encouraging results, which generate more positive thoughts. This creates an ascending spiral that also accelerates over time. After 1 year, these two people are not just slightly different, they are living in completely different universes. Their thoughts have compounded, their emotions have compounded, their actions have compounded, and their results have compounded. The gap between them grows wider every day, not because of their circumstances, but because of their mental cultivation practices. This is why small daily disciplines create extraordinary results. A person who reads for 30 minutes every day doesn't just know 30 minutes more information at the end of the day. They begin to think differently, see differently, and act differently. Over time, this compounds into wisdom, insight, and capability that transform their entire life experience. The same principle applies to every area of mental cultivation. A person who practices gratitude for 5 minutes every morning doesn't just feel good for 5 minutes. They begin to notice more things to be grateful for throughout the day. This shifts their entire perception of reality, which shifts their emotional state, which shifts their energy, which shifts their result. A person who visualizes their goals for 10 minutes every evening doesn't just daydream for 10 minutes. They begin to unconsciously notice opportunities, resources, and possibilities that align with their vision. Their mind becomes a magnet for the very things they've been consistently focusing on. This is the law of attraction in its most practical form. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. You don't attract what you think about occasionally. You attract what you think about consistently. You don't attract what you hope for, you attract what you expect at the deepest level of your consciousness. But here's the crucial understanding: your external circumstances are always a perfect mirror of your internal state. If you want to know what you've been thinking about most consistently, look at your current result. If you want to know what you truly believe about yourself, look at your current relationships. If you want to know what you expect from life, look at your current opportunities. Your outer world is not separate from your inner world. It is your inner world, expressed in form. Your relationships reflect your relationship with yourself. Your financial situation reflects your beliefs about abundance and scarcity. Your health reflects your beliefs about vitality and limitation. Your opportunities reflect your beliefs about possibility and impossibility. This means that changing your external circumstances requires changing your internal cultivation practices. If you want more love in your life, you must cultivate more love in your consciousness. If you want more abundance in your life, you must cultivate more abundance in your thinking. If you want more success in your life, you must cultivate more success in your mental patterns. But how do you actually do this? How do you practically apply these principles to transform your daily experience? The answer lies in understanding that transformation happens through repetition, not revelation. It happens through consistent practice, not momentary inspiration. It happens through daily discipline, not occasional motivation. Start with one simple practice. Before you get out of bed each morning, spend 5 minutes consciously choosing the thoughts you want to cultivate that day. Don't think about what you have to do, think about who you want to be. Don't focus on your problems, focus on your possibility. Don't review your limitations, review your capabilities. This practice might seem too simple to be powerful, but remember, simple does not mean easy, and easy does not mean unimportant. The most powerful forces in the universe operate through simple principles consistently applied. Water, applied consistently, can carve through solid rock. Thoughts applied consistently can transform your entire life experience. The key is not to underestimate the power of consistency or overestimate the power of intensity. One positive thought held consistently is more powerful than 1,000 positive thoughts held sporadically. One empowering belief practiced daily is more transformative than 100 empowering beliefs practiced occasionally. Your mind is not your enemy, it is your most powerful ally. But like any ally, it must be trained, directed, and consistently aligned with your highest good. The moment you begin to work with the laws of consciousness rather than against them, you begin to experience the true power of your mental faculty. The farmer who understands the laws of growth never struggles with the soil, he works with it. The person who understands the laws of consciousness never struggles with their mind, they direct it. Both achieve extraordinary results, not through force, but through alignment with natural law. Your transformation is not a matter of willpower, it is a matter of understanding and application. You don't need to fight your mind, you need to train it. You don't need to force change, you need to cultivate it. The garden of your consciousness is waiting. The seeds of your transformation are in your hands. The season for planting is now. What will you choose to grow? Once you understand how to cultivate your consciousness according to natural law, you must learn to recognize the eternal patterns that govern all human experience. Life is not random, it is not chaotic, it operates according to predictable rhythms and cycles that, once understood, give you tremendous power over your circumstances. Look at nature around you. The seasons change with perfect regularity. The tides rise and fall with mathematical precision. The sun rises and sets in cycles that have remained constant for millennia. Day follows night, spring follows winter, expansion follows contraction. These patterns are not accidents, they are expressions of fundamental laws that govern all existence. Your life follows these same patterns. You experience seasons of growth and seasons of rest. You go through cycles of expansion and contraction, challenge and ease, learning and integration. Most people resist these natural rhythms, fighting against the very forces that could serve their highest development. They want permanent spring, constant growth, endless expansion. But this is not how life works, and it is not how consciousness develops. The wise person learns to work with these patterns rather than against them. They understand that difficulties are not punishments, but preparation. They recognize that challenges are not obstacles, but opportunities for growth. They know that what appears to be setback is often setup for breakthrough. Consider this profound truth. Every difficulty you face is designed to develop a specific capacity within you. The challenges you encounter are not random afflictions. They are precisely calibrated experiences, meant to strengthen particular aspects of your character and consciousness. The person who faces financial struggles is being developed in their understanding of abundance and resourcefulness. The person who faces relationship challenges is being developed in their capacity for love and communication. The person who faces health challenges is being developed in their appreciation for vitality and their understanding of the mind-body connection. This doesn't mean that suffering is good or that challenges should be welcomed. It means that challenges are inevitable parts of growth, and your response to them determines whether they become stepping stones or stumbling blocks in your development. The pattern is always the same. Challenge presents itself. You respond either consciously or unconsciously, and the quality of your response determines the quality of your growth. Conscious response leads to expansion, wisdom, and increased capability. Unconscious response leads to contraction, confusion, and repeated patterns. But here's what most people never realize. The same situations that break some people make others stronger. The difference is not in the circumstances themselves. It is in the level of consciousness brought to those circumstances. Two people can face identical challenges and emerge with completely different results. One becomes bitter, defeated, and limited. The other becomes wise, resilient, and empowered. The circumstances were the same. The outcomes were different. What made the difference? The quality of their response. This is where true mastery begins. Not in controlling what happens to you, but in mastering how you respond to what happens to you. You cannot control the seasons of your life, but you can control how you navigate each season. You cannot control the challenges you face, but you can control the consciousness you bring to those challenges. The first step in mastering your response is learning to recognize the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is unconscious, automatic, and driven by past conditions. Response is conscious, deliberate, and guided by wisdom. When you react, you are being controlled by your circumstances. When you respond, you are exercising control over your circumstances. When you react, you are living from your past program. When you respond, you are creating from your present awareness. Most people spend their entire lives reacting. Something happens, they have an emotional reaction, they act from that reaction, and they create more of the same circumstance. This creates a cycle of unconscious living, where past patterns continuously recreate themselves in present experiences. But when you learn to respond instead of react, you break this cycle. You create space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies your power to change. In that space lies your freedom to create new patterns, new results, and new possibilities. How do you develop this capacity? How do you train yourself to respond rather than react? The answer lies in understanding the anatomy of conscious response. Every conscious response begins with, before you speak, before you act, before you make any decision, you create a moment of space. In that moment you ask yourself, what would the highest version of myself do in this situation? This simple question shifts you from reaction to response, from unconsciousness to consciousness, from limitation to possibility. But developing this capacity requires daily practice. You cannot expect to respond consciously in major challenges if you haven't trained yourself to respond consciously in minor ones. Every small irritation, every minor setback, every daily inconvenience is an opportunity to practice conscious response. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you have a choice. React with anger or respond with understanding. When a project doesn't go as planned, you have a choice. React with frustration or respond with adaptability. When criticism comes your way, you have a choice. React with defensiveness or respond with openness to learning. These small moments of choice are not insignificant. They are the building blocks of mastery. Each time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen your capacity for conscious living. Each time you choose wisdom over emotion, you expand your ability to navigate life's challenges with grace and effectiveness. This brings us to another crucial understanding. Opportunities and difficulties often come disguised as each other. What appears to be your greatest challenge may actually be your greatest opportunity. What seems like a setback may actually be a setup for breakthrough. The person who loses their job may discover their true calling. The person who faces a health crisis may find a deeper appreciation for life. The person who experiences relationship difficulties may develop greater capacity for love and understanding. But these transformations don't happen automatically. They happen through conscious response to challenging circumstances. This is why resilience is not about avoiding difficulties. It is about extracting value from them. It is about mining every experience for its hidden gift. It is about asking not why is this happening to me, but what is this here to teach me? The most successful people in any field are not those who have faced the fewest challenges. They are those who have learned to transform challenges into capability. They have developed the alchemical ability to turn obstacles into opportunities, setbacks into comebacks, and difficulties into distinctions. But this transformation requires more than positive thinking. It requires strategic thinking. It requires the ability to see patterns, recognize opportunities, and take appropriate action at the right time. It requires what we might call conscious timing. Everything in life has its season. There is a time to plant and a time to harvest. There is a time to act and a time to wait. There is a time to push forward and a time to step back. There is a time to speak and a time to listen. There is a time to hold on and a time to let go. The person who understands timing doesn't fight against the natural rhythms of life. They dance with them. They recognize when to be patient and when to be decisive. They know when to persist and when to pivot. They understand that force applied at the wrong time creates resistance, while gentle pressure applied at the right time creates breakthrough. This wisdom comes from learning to read the signs, to feel the rhythms, and to trust the process. It comes from understanding that life operates according to intelligence far greater than your individual will, and that your role is not to control this intelligence, but to align with it. Now let me share with you the daily disciplines that will transform your ability to recognize patterns, respond consciously, and create extraordinary results in your life. These are not theories. They are practical tools that, when applied consistently, will revolutionize your experience. First, the morning pattern recognition practice. Every morning, before you engage with the outside world, spend 5 minutes reviewing the patterns in your life. Ask yourself, what patterns am I noticing in my thoughts, emotions, and results? What patterns are serving me? What patterns need to be changed? This practice develops your awareness of the cycles and rhythms that govern your experience. Second, the conscious response protocol. Throughout the day, whenever you encounter a challenge or frustration, and ask, how can I respond to this in a way that serves my highest good? This simple question shifts you from reaction to response, from unconsciousness to consciousness, from limitation to possibility. Third, the evening integration ritual. Before you sleep, spend 5 minutes reviewing your day through the lens of growth and learning. Ask yourself, what did I learn today? How did I grow? What opportunities did I recognize? How can I apply these insights tomorrow? This practice transforms every experience into a stepping stone for advancement. Fourth, the weekly pattern review. Once a week, examine the larger patterns in your life. Look at your relationships, your work, your health, your finance. Ask yourself, what patterns are creating the results I want? What patterns are creating the results I don't want? What adjustments need to be made? This practice ensures that you're constantly refining your approach to life. Fifth, the monthly rhythm assessment. Once a month, step back and look at the bigger rhythms in your life. Are you in a season of expansion or contraction? Are you in a learning phase or an application phase? Are you in a time of planting or harvest? This understanding helps you align your actions with the natural rhythms of your development. These practices may seem simple, but their cumulative effect is profound. They develop your pattern recognition ability, strengthen your response capacity, and align your actions with natural law. They transform you from someone who is at the mercy of circumstances into someone who can navigate any situation with wisdom and grace. But remember, implementation is more important than information. You can understand every principle of success and still fail if you don't apply them consistently. You can know every law of achievement and still struggle if you don't practice them daily. Knowledge without application is merely entertainment. Wisdom without implementation is merely philosophy. The difference between those who achieve extraordinary results and those who remain trapped in mediocrity is not what they know, it is what they do consistently. It is not their understanding of principles, it is their application of principles. It is not their moments of inspiration, it is their habits of implementation. Right now, you have everything you need to begin transforming your life. You understand that you have power over your mental realm. You know how to cultivate consciousness according to natural law. You recognize the patterns that govern human experience. You have the tools to respond consciously to any situation. The only question remaining is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it remain as interesting information, or will you transform it into life-changing implementation? Will you continue living as you have been living, or will you begin living as you now know you can live? Will you remain a victim of unconscious patterns, or will you become a master of conscious response? The choice is yours. The power is yours. The responsibility is yours. The opportunity is yours. The time is now. Your mind is waiting to serve you. Your consciousness is waiting to be directed. Your life is waiting to be transformed. The eternal patterns are waiting to work with you rather than against you. The universe is waiting to respond to your conscious choices. But none of this potential will become reality until you make the decision to begin. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances are perfect. Right now, today, this moment. Start with one practice, choose one discipline, take one conscious action, make one deliberate choice. Begin the journey from unconscious reaction to conscious response. Step into the role of master rather than victim. Claim your power over your mental realm. Remember, your thoughts are not random visitors. They are tenants you choose to house. Your responses are not automatic reactions. They are conscious choices you make. Your life is not a series of random events. It is a pattern you create through the quality of your consciousness. The great awakening begins with recognition. The inner alchemy continues with application. The mastery of patterns culminates with implementation. Your transformation is not a destination. It is a daily practice. Your success is not an achievement. It is a way of being. The journey begins now. The power is in your hands. The choice is yours alone. What will you choose to create with the magnificent gift of your consciousness? The answer to this question will determine everything. Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose now.